Support for Higher Education in Focus comes from the Penn State Alumni Association, serving alumni and alma mater for 145 years. On the web at alumni.psu.edu. Penn State Bookstore, improving the student experience at Penn State with philanthropic support of student causes throughout the university. On the Hub lawn or at psu.bncollege.com. The attorneys of McNeese, Wallace, and Nurek. Your mission, your goal, your lawyers. More at mwn.com. Higher Ed Jobs, a comprehensive list of open faculty, administrative, and executive positions at colleges and universities across the U.S. and worldwide. Online at higheredjobs.com. And from viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Higher Education in Focus. I'm Patty Satalia, along with our co-host, Penn State President Eric Barron. For undergraduate students interested in coming up with the next great idea or becoming their own boss, Penn State is paving the way with programs designed to develop entrepreneurs. From minors in entrepreneurship and innovation to entrepreneurs in residence to groups designed to provide networking opportunities, Penn State is making student career success a priority. Already, the university has its share of success stories, especially among recent graduates who have founded their own companies. In the last of our three-part series on entrepreneurship, we'll talk with Chris Fanini, a 2012 graduate of Penn State with a bachelor's degree in information sciences and technology. He's the co-founder and chief technical officer of Weebly, a tech company based in San Francisco. Weebly provides its 20 million customers a simple and powerful way to create a website, blog, or online store. Also joining us is Matt Brezina, a 2003 graduate of Penn State with a BS in electrical engineering. Matt is co-founder and CEO of Sincerely, a mobile gifting startup whose mission is to help the world be more thoughtful with multiple products and services. He also co-founded Zobni, an email software company that makes your inbox and address book smarter. Thank you both so much for being with us. It's not that long ago that you were both here as students. You just 3 years ago, Chris, and Matt, 11 or so years ago that you were here. You're here obviously for the IST Startup Week, and so I'm kind of wondering what your view is of Penn State's commitment to entrepreneurship. Is it something that you can see and feel now that you're here on campus?
I think compared to 11 years ago, it is dramatically different. The number of students that are actually out there building stuff, working, even staying after graduation and building their teams here. It's something that didn't exist when I was here, and I think there's enough support coming around where we're really going to see some huge successes come out of here.
And how about you, Chris?
No, it's great to be back and just see all the energy and excitement around entrepreneurship. And I was here, started in 2006, or rather started in 2003. Would have officially graduated in 07. And back then it wasn't nearly as sort of engaging as it is now with startups and able to talk to people about it and professors and just having all that support from the universities. It's been
and you created
phenomenal.
Weebly with a team of Penn Staters. You had the idea while you were here, and you both mentioned having those teams and communities. How important was that to the success?
Instrumental. So, when people ask what it is that I really enjoy my time at Penn State and what the big takeaway for me was, it was the people, right? It was who I was able to meet here. Two of my very good friends, Dave and Dan, obviously got together, started Weebly, came out of a Penn State IST class with Jerry Santoro, and just having the environment to meet those folks. And
you actually submitted your idea to Y Combinator. Explain how Y Combinator helped take a good idea from the drawing board to a successful product. And when I say successful product, Weebly is now valued at something like $455 million. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Y Combinator experience was incredible. It's a similar sort of story, right? It's you're in a place surrounded by people that are all kind of focused on the same thing. Everyone's really excited about building a business, changing the world, and everyone's just so passionate about that. And that whole process of, applying and interviewing and eventually moving out to San Francisco and being a part of that class, that Y Combinator class, and the whole experience there was just phenomenal. Really just just a great experience, all around, and the people there. Again, everyone sort of helps each other, right? I mean, it's a roller coaster. Building a startup is an absolute roller coaster, and having peers and people that are sharing in that experience with you is just super helpful.
Is IST Week like that, surrounded by people all with that enthusiasm, like mind, and doing things?
Absolutely. Yeah, and you can hear it, and you hear the chatter. You hear people talking, you hear people discussing their ideas, and you can walk by someone who's sitting down having coffee and having, that's what I love to hear. To me, that's a sign that it's
alive.
bustling, it's alive. And
Yeah.
They'll have student volunteers that were, student volunteers 2 years ago, and now this year they're the ones that actually have a business that they're up and running. So they got exposed to it, which is the first step, and then they went out and tried it, and now we're helping coach them, give them funding, et cetera. It's pretty exciting.
You're also an alum of Y Combinator, and in fact you lived, I don't know if you still do, in San Francisco in what you called the Y Scraper. This is this tall 1960s gulag-looking building. Wasn't a pretty building, but lots of exciting things were happening there. And you've said that's what a region like Center Region needs to create.
Yeah, I really believe that the magic happens when ideas intersect, and they don't intersect, at a conference, or they don't intersect in a boardroom. They intersect at coffee shops or at a bar after work. What we need is people from the engineering school intersecting with people from the liberal arts college, intersecting with people from town. And what you need to have that happen is to have everybody kind of living in close walking distance, have cafes, coffee shops, public spaces where they can intersect with people they're not necessarily working with on a daily basis. And that's what Y Combinator was for us. I've never found a more aligned group of like-minded people in my life. And we didn't even know each other at Penn State. It was actually our investor who said, hey, there's these Penn Staters that are coming out. You should meet them and help them. And immediately I loved them. And I told them, hey, move into this building with us. And
You described it as the most intoxicating thing you've ever experienced.
the Y Combinator?
Yeah. No, Y Scraper, living together with all of these people.
It was it was close to kind of like a dorm, but where everybody was doing this, they're independent things, but they were so focused on building these companies to be successful that, we all needed the same things from each other. We said, hey, which investor should I take money from? And hey, let's go get a drink. We need a drink.
You're living and breathing it, right? I mean, with all your peers. It's just, there's nothing like it.
You've got Dr. Barron's ear, and of course he's been attending the IST Startup Week. But what advice would you give to the president to make the kind of vision you've just described happen?
That's a big question. I love it.
Yeah. I'll start with, I think that there's already been a tremendous amount of progress. Again, just the last, this is my 4th year here for Startup Week. And again, this year compared to the 3 prior, night and day. Just the support, I think some great support, obviously, from President Eric Barron. And it just seems like another level, right, that we've reached here.
And I have to say, last night at the award ceremony, and when you're sitting there as part of an award, that here are these students that are going to go off and see people in action and visit San Francisco and come under people's wing, and you hear all the other opportunities, and not just that. The crowd and the attitude, it was really intoxicating. It was intoxicating. I wanted to do it again tomorrow night and then the next night. And, to watch those teams, the degree to which they were crossing and interacting, and the breadth of topics,
well, there are more than
made me feel really good.
And there are more than 22 people who have created successful tech businesses attending this, not just Penn State graduates.
No.
Yeah. I want to take the opportunity, I love this question of what advice could we give the president of Penn State University?
Yeah.
And having grown up in State College, I have a perspective of the town and gown element, and I really think that our town is heavily weighted Penn State. It's by far the most major employer, and I think what we really need is that balance of the town as well. And so, whatever the president can do and whatever the university can do that can help foster the right type of community across College Avenue, that can be a landing place for some of our students, that can be a commercialization zone for some of our research, I think that would take us to a new level.
I think you're right, and I think that we have the opportunity to think deliberately about what Penn State's really good at, and therefore what sectors of the economy would find this home to be very comfortable.
Yep.
And I think that combined with having the space where people can get together and share ideas, and combine that with bringing in particular sectors of the economy, I think would be a good start on that goal.
I'm ready to help.
Good.
And you're here to help, and I want to talk about the Summer Founders Program in a minute, but first a little bit on Zobni. Bill Gates was interested in buying Zobni. He offered $20 million. You must have held your breath, and when you said no, not much longer, Yahoo bought it for $60 million. But you said, more important than starting your own company, what you love about what you're doing is creating the work environment that you want to work in yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you look for in employees and what you think is an important workspace to create for innovation.
Is he first going to get to answer the question, how do you turn down $20 million?
That's a very complicated question. So,
but it worked out.
Don't open that can of worms.
Yeah, don't open that can of worms.
Okay.
First I'll say the context was that, I did a couple internships when I was in college and grad school, and I went to places like the Naval Research Lab and to NASA, and I saw a culture where everybody drives to this office. They're there, from some set period of time. They're kind of like looking at the clock. Like I even found myself looking at a clock, and I was like, I don't ever want to look at a clock during my day. Like I want to be so engrossed in what I'm doing that I'm not looking at the clock, and I want to have people around me that feel that same way. And so, what things do we do that make they're in contrast to that environment that I initially encountered? Is I ride my bike to work every day. The best part of my day is riding my bike, and studies show you're 50% more creative after you've exercised. So just that bike ride to the office, it's 2 miles. I get in and I'm like ready to go with ideas blazing. So that type of environment where I'm not driving in 30 minutes of traffic. We're flexible about work hours. Like some people don't work well at 8. Some people work best from 11 to 8 p.m. And so we want people to work when they work best. We're flexible about kind of work spaces, so people kind of choose where they work. They might want to work in a more quiet corner, or they might, like me, want to be where people are walking by. I put myself in the middle of the company because I want everybody walking by me so I can just hear the chatter of what's going on in the company. The other thing is I always found trouble when I would it'd be like 11:30, I'm starting to get hungry at one of these internships, and I have to start thinking about where I need to go get food. Mm-hmm. And that's like 30 minutes even before lunch starts, and then I have to go drive somewhere to get food, and I'm spending an hour and a half on this feeding myself, like a very simple problem. So in both of our companies, we bring food to you. You don't ever have to think about that. It's a great investment.
Wow, I want to go work there. How many people has your company hired to date? How many employees do you have?
Yes, we've got quite a few. I mean, we've got about 250. We've got 3 offices, our headquarters in San Francisco. We've got a New York City office, an office in Scottsdale.
Wow.
We also have a remote work staff.
And how about you? You've sold Zobni, but you now have Sincerely and Postagram. How many people are you employing?
So we actually sold Sincerely as well in
Okay.
2013, but I'm still running the subsidiary. We have about 25, and we're now part of FTD, a 2,000-person public company.
Dr. Barron, as I listen to these guys, I'm wondering, how does this IST Startup Week and bringing guys like Matt and Chris to campus fit with your overall goal of making Penn State really an entrepreneurship mecca?
Well, I would say that Penn State has 1,000 flowers blooming all over the place. And there's this kind of energy, and some of it's in engineering, and some of it's in business, and some of it's in chemistry, and there's a lot of it in IST. And you could actually sit back and watch it just sort of grow and bubble, and I think that it would happen. I think our job is how do we get to where it's going and do it in a lot faster pace than watching it naturally evolve? Because there's no doubt in my mind it would naturally evolve because people like you are going off and being successful, and you've become role models, and students are starting to see this, and they watch a lot of other people and role models, and I can do that too. And so it's how can we incentivize it? How can we do those things? And how can we take these things that I don't want to get trite, that here's a flower and here's a flower, and all of a sudden have something that is just a lot more spectacular and beautiful. And so many things to follow in their pace. IST is one part of it, obviously it's going gangbusters.
Well, one of the things you two are doing and bringing to Penn State for the first time, it's sort of an offshoot of Y Combinator, is this Summer Founders Program. 10 weeks where people with ideas like the ideas you guys had can put heads down and focus on them. Explain how this is going to work, Chris.
Well, I firmly, I am stoked about this. So Matt came to me a while back and said he was working on this program and asked if I wanted to be involved, and I said absolutely. Let me know when the details are ironed out. And I think that's the first step. And again, sort of fostering that entrepreneurship here and getting people excited about coming up with an idea. Being able to focus on it is key. So I think with Summer Founders Program, it allows you to focus on your idea.
You don't take a summer job. This is your job, making your product fly.
How many teams did we support?
6 teams. They're each getting $10,000, which is a good chunk of change to work on a project for a summer.
Absolutely.
It is.
And that was out of 60 applicants.
Yeah.
And the process I think that we need to keep on fostering is first is exposing people to this idea, which IST Startup Week does. And then it's encouraging them to work on projects, whether it be spinning off of a class like your company did, and then picking the ones that we think are really serious about it and giving them that a little bit of seed cash, just like Paul Graham and Y Combinator gave us. And we're 10 years from now, we're gonna have an army of successful entrepreneurs here.
It's interesting because you don't just, you have a degree in electrical engineering, you have a degree in IST, and to make something like the ideas you made fly, you need a lot more than that. You need to be able to make a good pitch, you need to know how to negotiate, you need to know how to protect your product. Is that the kind of stuff? I guess what I'm wondering, what are you going to teach people in this Summer Founders Program?
Well, I'd say it's more a trait that you have to look for in entrepreneurs, which is that they love to learn. And so all this stuff that you just mentioned, neither of us knew any of that, including the technical stuff. Like the technical stuff you learn in school, it's really just teaching you how to learn, because the technology is changing so quickly. You're going to new areas that you actually need just to be a voracious learner. And so what we're doing is, I honestly think we're just giving them space to learn and to explore. And then if they hit a roadblock or they have a question, they know who to call.
And full up work on a particular idea, which they don't get the chance to do very, very often.
Exactly.
Do you have favorites from the IST week in terms of the presentations or posters that you saw?
Yeah, I think it's no surprise, but Resume Ruby is just a phenomenal product, and it's reminds me of Weebly in the early days. It's a bit of a CMS. You're dragging and kind of moving things around and building a resume. So that would be my favorite.
Ruby. The names are really important too, aren't they?
And it's a perfectly inspired company because it's a problem that students encounter. It's the first time you're really caring about a resume. No big company is going to do this well. It's going to be a student that does it well, and they might be the ones that do it.
This is really all about figuring out what people want, but does it start with what you guys wanted? In other words, Weebly, did you say, hey, I need to be able to create a good website?
Absolutely, yeah. Weebly started because we had friends of ours. They came to us and they said, hey, I need to help building this website, this online portfolio for a class, because it was a requirement. I said, yeah, sure, we'll help you out. And it was this cryptic system. You had to upload files to an FTP server, and you had to name them properly or else they wouldn't show up in your web browser. So we can solve this, right? We can solve this with software, and we can make it really fun along the way. So that's how it began.
If you go back to student days, do you ever go, I wish Penn State had done this for me?
So we just came from the Honors College board meeting. I think one of the things Penn State did for me in the Honors College specifically is they gave me funding to go study abroad, and it blew my mind. I'd never left the country before. It made me question education, religion, etc. We need to get as many kids exposed to the rest of the world as possible.
And
I agree with you.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, but continued success to both of you. And thanks for coming back to Penn State.
Thank you.
Thanks, great to be here.
Thank you to Chris Fanini, co-founder and chief technical officer of Weebly, and Matt Brezina, co-founder and CEO of Sincerely Inc. and Zobni. In a moment, we'll talk one-on-one with President Barron. We'll be right back. Matt Brezina said that in order for innovation and entrepreneurship to flourish, you need what he calls denser communities where where random encounters can happen. How can Penn State create the environment he talked about?
Well, you know, we start with this idea of creating this community university activity in places where you can start companies. But we have to attract other companies into our region. And so you start to think, what's natural? What's perfect? Well, we just got ranked in the World Campus as the #1 program in delivering online bachelor's degrees in the country. And we're producing this industry. We're the leaders. So this whole edX phenomenon that's occurring is a perfect industry. And so I think that type of thing is the beginning. Let's look where our strengths might lead into a natural connection with companies in the center region.
Well, it's interesting because some people may think what you just said is sort of counterintuitive. If people are learning online, they aren't having the face-to-face interactions that are required to say, hey, what do you think of this idea? And I can help with this, you help with that. Just as we saw Chris, he got together with 2 colleagues to create Weebly.
Well, you can count on the fact that behind that online delivery is a whole community of people interacting, discussing what's the best way to take content and information and to deliver it. You can also count on the fact that there are all sorts of different ways that you would use it, from adding flexibility to a student's calendar, to their day, to creating new types of classroom experiences to enable someone who's homebound to take a class. There's all sorts of opportunities that are opened up by the online world.
And there are some who say that the future of education will be giving students credit for things they already know.
Well, and I think that a lot of us are sitting there discussing how you take experiences. And I think the first group out of the gate, so to speak, is veterans and what they've learned, and whether or not that kind of application and knowledge is worthy of having credits.
There's also talk of this flipped classroom. So
Yes.
when you and I went to school, your professor was on the stage essentially lecturing to you. And there's talk that what really ought to happen in the classroom is the project work, the engagement with the professor, with the expert, with your colleagues who can help you learn things.
You know, absolutely. This is part of that new avenue where the technology is changing how it is that we might deliver. So if all of a sudden you just do something simple like film a lecture, why do I need to be in the room? So now if we can do content-rich materials, the lecture materials, the reading materials online, the student can come prepared, and then the professor can work more deeply, work on problem sets, work on problem solving, have that discussion and questions because you've already read the material. It's not only more efficient and effective, it's more fun.
It's really interesting because it's also what Matt said. He wants a workplace where you show up when you're most effective at working. It may not be 8 o'clock.
Right.
So you take this class when you're prepared to learn statistics or whatever.
You are, and when you're in that mindset where, okay, I'm going to make sure I understand all of this, and then you use that classroom time as a much more valuable time for a course.
You mentioned technology, and Penn State recently had 2 job fairs. One was the typical job fair where 70-some employers showed up at Penn State, interviewed prospective student employees, and the other was done online.
So, you know, we need to have every kind of avenue you can imagine. That the needs for employment don't all occur at a particular date when you have a fair. And even though those companies are coming and they're working to recruit students before they graduate and they have that personal interaction, you need to have lots of opportunities where online you can have those connections and you have job opportunities. I've seen students do e-portfolios that show what they're capable of and what they're interested in and showing what their enthusiasm is. And that can catch someone online, catch their attention online and give you a head start on a job.
What I found really interesting about the online aspect is for those students who are learning online, they're Penn State World Campus students, why do they have to miss the job fair? They can't make it to State College, to University Park. They now, or if you're in the military, you can apply for a job online. And the focus on your online job fair was for Pennsylvania jobs.
And that makes a lot of sense too. Just again to have that first contact. That may not mean that there isn't an interview afterwards, but it's the first step in the process, and you've facilitated it. You've made it much easier. And if you're technologically savvy and you know how to deliver in that type of environment, you have a head start.
So with just a couple of seconds remaining, IST Week is a big deal, but there's also Innovation Case Week, Showcase, the IST Idea Maker Challenge, Startup Tank. I mean, all kinds of things are happening at Penn State.
And you know, you sit there and you have that wonderful event, and then I'll meet with a group of alumni, and they're coming out of agriculture. And they're talking about companies that are coming out of agriculture and their entrepreneurship and innovation group. And everywhere you go, that's what's there. We have the opportunity to bring this to a whole new height.
All right, very interesting. We hope you will join us next month for Higher Education in Focus with Penn State President Dr. Eric Barron. I'm Patty Satalia. For all of us here at WPSU, thanks for joining us.
Support for Higher Education in Focus comes from the Penn State Alumni Association, serving alumni and alma mater for 145 years. On the web at alumni.psu.edu. Penn State Bookstore, improving the student experience at Penn State with philanthropic support of student causes throughout the university. On the Hub lawn or at psu.bncollege.com. The attorneys of McNeese, Wallace, and Nurek. Your mission, your goal, your lawyers. More at mwn.com. Higher Ed Jobs, a comprehensive list of open faculty, administrative, and executive positions at colleges and universities across the U.S. and worldwide. Online at higheredjobs.com. And from viewers like you. Thank you.